life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.
Hey guys, Keith Engel for Let's Talk New York Sports right here on the Let's Talk Sports Network. We're going to leave that up today. Sorry for the banner. Oh, guys, it's been a busy. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the show today. Dan Harris, by the way. Dan, I hope you're, when you check this out, you're feeling better. As many of you know, Dan and I do this show together on Friday afternoons, and he certainly does a lot of shows on the Let's Talk Sports Network, if not the majority of them. And Dan's been battling some physical ailments, and we wish Dan well, and hopefully he's making progress. I know he's on social media a lot more than he was, and hopefully we'll see him right back here with us co-hosting here in the near future. We're going to talk everything New York sports. We hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. Two of them, one on Sunday with our immediate family, kids and wives and husbands and girlfriends and grandchildren. And when my wife and I spent a quiet Thanksgiving yesterday, went out to dinner for a bit. And I'm still struggling a bit from the long-term effects of COVID. Hopefully they'll shake out soon. Mostly fatigue and whatnot. And listen, I shouldn't even bring it up because, as I said, some people are going through a lot worse things than me. And I don't mean to be looking for pity or sound like I have self-pity. Busy day for me and my wife getting the Christmas decorations up. Everything inside. Well, we got to decorate the main tree a little bit when we get done here. And we got the outside to do. I was hoping to get to it all today, but it's raining and it's nasty out there. So we'll talk some New York sports for whatever, the next hour, 45 minutes, however long it goes. Hope you guys will bring up your topics, again, related to New York sports or the New England Patriots. I know it's a little weird, the Let's Talk Sports guy talking New England, but we do that on this show, since that is my team. Lots to talk about amongst the football teams, obviously. Some news with the baseball teams a little bit, and we'll get into all that. And we'll touch on the Knicks and the Nets as well, the dumpster fires they are at the current time. And we'll talk anything you want to talk about come New York sports. So let's start off with yesterday's game. The Giants played the Cowboys yesterday, played very well for a half. The defense was very good. 13-7, I believe, at halftime. And then, the Cowboys came out and pretty much took over as they scored 21 straight points, I believe, on 3 consecutive possessions. The Giants kind of got away from the run a little bit, and that happens when you fall behind by a couple of touchdowns. Only, I want to say, let me pull up my scoreboard here. I want to say only 15 total touches, 11 carries for Saquon Barkley yesterday. That's not enough. I understand he can't carry the load all the time, and the game dictates what you do. And they were trying to get the ball to him in space sometimes with Daniel Jones passing. One bad third down. The only bad thing I got to say about Daniel Jones yesterday was a couple of passes he was a little bit inaccurate on, and he could have been a bit better. I know Giant fans are going to get all over Daniel Jones, as they are wont to do, because, he was a 6th selection in the draft. That's not his fault. And by the way, Daniel Jones has played pretty good football this year, but you cannot keep putting yourself in a position to have to come back in fourth quarters when you don't have the weapons to do so. Darius Slayton started to step up a little bit. He had 3 catches yesterday. Richie James with 5. But they don't have a real go-to guy, and that's going to hurt this team. If you watch the other side of the football here, or you watched the other games, these teams all 5 other teams have plenty of weapons on the outside that can be go-to guys, whether it be CeeDee Lamb, even Michael Gallup to a certain extent here on with the Cowboys. Well, I guess the Patriots are a little bit like the Giants, although I think the overall depth of weapons is better. They don't have that one guy like who am I thinking of from the Vikings? why is his name Jefferson from the Vikings. That guy's an animal. And even the Lions have a go-to receiver. So when Jared Goff gets in trouble, he's got a guy to get himself out of it. Giants don't have that. So when Saquon Barkley is bottled up rushing the football and receiving like he was yesterday, only 4 catches for 13 yards to go with 11 carries for 39 yards. Not a good day for Saquon Barkley by any stretch of the imagination. And the Giants defense put them in a huge hole. And Dallas just showed, running the football, 169 yards, 92 for Zeke, 60 and a touchdown, 60 for Pollard. CeeDee Lamb goes 6 for 106 in receptions. Michael Gallup, 5 for 63. Where the Giants go from here is going to be very important. I mean, they're 7-4 now. They've got the team formerly known as the Redskins kind of nipping at their heels. Excuse me. And they've got a tough schedule coming up here. They got a couple games yet with the Redskins. Oh, team formerly known as the Redskins, sorry. I mean, if the season ended today, they're still in the playoffs because of how bad the South is, how bad most of the North is, and how bad the West is. They'd have the 6th seed. That should be enough for Giant fans, but I doubt that it will be. Who they got left? They got the Commanders twice. Sorry, team formerly known as the Redskins twice. They got the Eagles. It's going to be a tough go. They got to go to the Vikings. I'm unsure what to think of the Vikings. We'll talk about them in a minute with their game with the Patriots yesterday. 40-3, they got beat by these same Cowboys yesterday at home. They got the Colts and they got the Eagles. So they got 2 games with the Eagles yet. 2 games with Washington. Probably what's going to decide their fate. 9 wins probably gets in. They need 2 more wins. Is anybody in position to say the Giants aren't going to get 2 more wins? They should split with Washington, I would think. And I like the team formerly known as the Redskins, as you well know, or might well know. Let's say they lose to the Vikings. Let's say they lose both even if they lose both to the Eagles, lose to the Vikings, split with the Commanders, they should beat the Colts. They should have 9 wins. That should get them in the playoffs. How far they can go, I don't know. Odell Beckham, is he going to sign with the Giants? Is he going to sign with the Cowboys? Is he going to sign with the Bills? Is he going to sign with anybody? And will he have that much impact if he does? To me, he impacts the Giants. Giants don't have a guy like Odell Beckham. And no, he's not a number 1 receiver anymore. But he's better than any number 1 receiver you want to try to put on at the top of the Giants list. Golladay didn't even show up yesterday. I hope he was inactive, because if he wasn't inactive, then that's pretty scary, because he didn't have a target. I didn't see the entire game as we went out to eat. But what an embarrassment that kid is. He should be ashamed to take his paycheck every day. He really should. Every week. So the Giants still could right this ship. They could still be looking at 9 or 10 wins. They should be looking at 9 wins. They could be looking at 10. Somebody's got to step up to help Daniel Jones. And the defense has to live up to his reputation, which, again, has played pretty good this year for the most part. Yesterday, they did not play well. So this team now has lost 3 of its last 4. And they're at a crossroads. As are the Jets, by the way. The Jets kind of going the other direction here. We know what happened last week. One of the worst games I've seen on both sides. Well, not both sides. On both teams' offensive output last week. Jets and Patriots were horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And the Patriots, as we know now, why that guy doesn't kick the ball out of bounds. He kicks it to Jones to give a chance to return with whatever was left, 20, 15 seconds. Makes no sense. You don't give a guy a chance to return to football in that case. I was surprised last night when the Vikings, even though it was at the goal line, you should have kicked the ball in bounds even last night. Don't give the kid a chance. He showed you what he can do last week. 70-some yard kick return. And please, don't tell me about the block in the back, okay? You know, was there one there? Yeah, there's one every game. There was one last night in the Patriot game on the kick return there. Jet fans, don't blame yourself losing that game on that call. You didn't play good enough to win the game. I say this all the time. Do not put yourself in a position to get beat by referees. If I was wanting to do that, I would be complaining about the game last night. I'll complain about the call, but don't tell me it cost you the game. Not unless you played an absolutely perfect game outside of that, and you did far from that. And on top of it, and I really believe this is why Zach Wilson lost his job now, at least for the foreseeable future. He's asked after the game, does he feel like, he let his defense down? And he says, no. Even his dad is calling him right after the press conference or on the team bus and saying, dude, what are you doing? You can't say that. You just played a horrendous football team game. You played for 77. You threw for 77 yards. You're an NFL quarterback. And I've stuck up for Zach Wilson a lot here and other places. I'm not a Jet fan. I hate the Jets. But somebody's got to be coaching up Zach Wilson, not just on the field, but off the field, about how to act like an NFL quarterback and what to say and what not to say. That was a horrible, horrible answer. The only one he couldn't give. And I think that's why he's not the quarterback right now. I don't know how he can be. And I do not, and again, I'm not saying they should give up on Zach Wilson. Again, I'll say it once more time. If there are a lot of really good quarterbacks who, if they were given up on in this short period of time, they would have, some great careers would have gone by the wayside or have been had on other teams. Terry Bradshaw certainly comes to mind. It took him years to get it. Brett Favre wasn't Brett Favre out of the gate. Peyton Manning was awful. 28 interceptions in his rookie season. Troy Aikman took time. Joe Montana took time. But the Giants are not doing this kid any favors right now. Somebody's got to step up. They should have look at John Beck goes to Syracuse. This is an NFL organization. You should have found a way to pay John Beck and kept him on this coaching staff to be the quarterback coach and mentor and father figure, whatever you want to call it, to Zach Wilson. Went to BYU. He understands the culture the kid comes from. He was a decent quarterback himself, at least in college, kicked around the pros a little bit. I don't think the Jets have that kind of guy. LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, as a rule, can't be that guy. That's why you have quarterback coaches. But I blame LaFleur a little bit in lieu of another coach. I mean, the big blame needs to be on the organization itself, the management team, Robert Saleh. Get this kid somebody to mentor him and how to carry himself like an NFL quarterback. The play will come, but if you keep saying things like, no, you keep having games like he had last week and then say, no, I didn't let the defense down. Jets defense playing very well, but this is another team. They've also lost 2 of their last 3. They got the Bears this week. They should win, but who knows? You got White playing quarterback. So it's unsure. It's unlikely. Hold on, I think I might sneeze. Guess not. I don't know. You don't know what you're going to get from White. We saw what he did against the Bengals last year and lit them right up, but then he came back to earth right away the next week. I don't know what you're going to see out of this kid. Patriots last night lose and they keep the Jets in it. The Jets have got the Bears this week. They should win. They're at the Vikings. Again, 8 wins they got right now. I mean, I can see 9 wins here, maybe even 10. 9 should get there or be close. If it takes 10, both the Patriots and the Jets got their work cut out for them if it takes 10. If it takes 9, both of them could get in. If it comes down to a tiebreaker, the Jets will probably be in trouble. Defense has played really well last week. I don't know Robert Saleh's got anything he can do. And I'm not saying the Jets should give up on Zach Wilson even a little bit. But he's got to start to show improvement and consistency. Consistency. One thing you see out of Daniel Jones now that you weren't seeing before is consistency. Takes very good care of the football. Doesn't make bad decisions as a rule. And they need he needs the coaches to put them in a better position, him in a better position to succeed. I know the injuries to Hall have hurt. But Daniel Jones is out there doing it with no wideouts to speak of. And again, perspective is everything, right? If we talked about this, if I talked to any Jet and Giant fan, I always do this exercise, right? Whatever team we're talking about. At least on the good side. Nice score for Tulane, by the way. Goes up 20-10 here. A few shekels on Tulane today. Again, if I'd asked Jets or Giant fans back in August, you'd get to Thanksgiving and be 7-4, as the Giants are right now, and the Jets have a very good chance of being after Sunday. You'd be ecstatic. But given the way the season's played out, they're setting themselves up for disappointment. Now, the only team that plays in Buffalo, plays in Buffalo. There's only one team plays in Buffalo. The only team that actually plays in New York, the Buffalo Bills, had an interesting game yesterday. I wasn't sure if they were going to win, if they were going to lose. The defense took a step back. There were times they made Jared Goff look like Joe Montana. Jared Goff's had a decent year. But the Bills defense, after Von Miller went out specifically with a knee injury, and I have not heard today yet whether he's whether he's good to go or not. But the defense needs to play better than what they played yesterday. They didn't play the run badly. Jamal Williams had 66 yards on 18 carries. I mean, they played the run pretty good. They averaged 3.4 yards a carry, only gave up a touchdown. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, as I was mentioning to you about go-to wide receivers, this kid has stepped up big time for the Lions. 9 catches out of 10 targets yesterday, 122 yards and a touchdown. This is a surprise team. If they'd won this game yesterday and they had themselves in position to win it, thought they were going to overtime, but Josh Allen, Josh Allen's turned the ball over way too many times. The Bills, as a rule, have turned the ball over way too many times. Josh Allen again yesterday. 253 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a bad interception. But he rushed for 78 yards, 2 on 10 carries, and a touchdown. Probably the single best weapon in the NFL right now. I know Tua is probably the MVP, but Josh Allen got to clean up the turnovers. He's playing well. They ran the ball better yesterday. Singletary, 72 yards on 14 carries. But there's just a bunch of weapons on this team. As we talked about before, to really be able to succeed and come back in games, you need weapons, and they're everywhere for Josh Allen. You get Stephon Diggs, who had a down day yesterday with 8 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie, Gabe Davis, Knox. You throw in Singletary and Cook here and there. They didn't do much yesterday, but they do catch balls out of the backfield. It's an embarrassment of riches, I think, for Buffalo, and they're still in they're still in the running for OBJ. I would not bring OBJ in here. I don't think it's a good move, so I'd probably pass on that. Are they in good shape? Well, they're in first place. At least until tomorrow's outcomes, right? They're in first place. At Miami 7-3, they're 8-3. Miami's on a 4-game win streak. Tua is playing better than I or anybody else could have expected. There are a lot of Tua naysayers, and I was one of the leaders in the pack, and I was wrong, at least through 10 games. We'll see how the Dolphins play in December when they got to come up north for some bad weather. That's going to be very interesting. It could be a deciding factor in this division. I think there's no way the Dolphins don't make the playoffs. The Patriots yesterday, it's so interesting. The game of football is so interesting, right? Last week they couldn't muster offense. And yesterday, Mac Jones threw for 382 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not all of it because they trailed late in the game either. He put a lot of that yardage up during the course of the game. They got away from the run. I don't know why, other than the fact that, the game plan likely was to attack that Minnesota pass defense because their pass rush is really bad. And that you saw Mac Jones throw the ball better than he has all year. And downfield maybe better than he has any time in his career. He made better decisions, but they didn't run the ball enough. Their special teams were awful. They gave up a touchdown, a 100-yard touchdown return. Kirk Cousins played very, very well. He's got a history of not playing well in prime time, but he played very well last night, and he got off to a good start. He's the kind of guy who, if he can get it started early, he carries that momentum over. And if things start to go bad, he'll go, it kind of snowballs on him. I'm still not sure you can win a championship with Kirk Cousins, but this team, Jefferson, he might be the best weapon in the NFL. So the Patriots defense plays terrible. The special teams were just atrocious, as it is around the league. Now they fall to 6-5. Their chances to make the playoffs really drop. I still think they get to 9 wins. It's going to be tough. They've got to beat the teams that they need to beat. They've still got the Bills twice. They've got the Dolphins once. So they got Cincinnati. They've got who else do they have? Oh gosh. I think I'd know this by now. They got the Bills coming up next Thursday, so another Thursday nighter for them. They're at the Cardinals, they're at the Raiders, they're playing the Bengals at home. They really need to win those games. At the Raiders, at the Cardinals, and the Bengals at home. That gets them to 9 wins. Now, if they can find a way to split with Buffalo or beat Miami, you got 10 wins. Bengals, by the way, Christmas Day. Dolphins, New Year's Day. It'll be a tough road for the Patriots. Pass block much better yesterday, but again, the worst pass rushing team in football yesterday they played. How much stock do I put on that? Got to wait till I see him play a better pass rushing team. All in all, Mac Jones looked much more confident in the offense. A little time in the pocket will do that for you. Would have liked to see them run the ball a little bit more. I think they left their defense on the field too much. The Minnesota offense did a great job with the Patriots front seven, protected Kirk Cousins pretty well. Matthew Judon was not the factor that he's been in other games. And then the special teams really kind of turned the tide in this game. Minnesota played well and the Patriots did not. And again, a couple bad calls. Well, not a bad call. One's just a bad rule. And again, let me preface this. I'm not saying the Patriots lost because of either one of these calls. You don't push yourself in a position to get beat that way. Holding, Kyle Duggar had a holding call that was not called on him. Well, he was held on that long kick return, right at the point that he was going to make it, have a chance to make a tackle. And then there's this bad rule. Somebody's got to explain to me. Somebody needs to explain to me why it's different scoring a touchdown if you catch the ball than if you run the ball. And again, this Hunter Henry non-touchdown did not cost the Patriots a game. They didn't play well enough to win. End of story. But why is it different if I'm running the ball? All I got to do is lean over the pack. If the ball crosses the plane, the play's over. I scored a touchdown. But if I catch the ball, I'm in the process of catching the ball. I've got it in my hands, and it's over the goal line. The play's not over. I got to take it all the way to the ground. I don't understand the inconsistencies, why that needs to be. If I have possession across the goal line, it's a touchdown. It should be, just like if I'm running a ball. On that play we're talking about last night, if Hunter Henry had caught the ball at the 5 and then lunged, broke the plane and fumbled, it's a touchdown. But because he took it to the ground and the ground helped him a little bit hold on to the ball where he already had possession, it's not a touchdown. Anyway, doesn't cost the Patriots a game. Don't be writing me letters because I am consistent always. I'll complain about Brett Free's calls. Never will I tell you we lost because we got screwed by the refs. I leave that to you Jet fans and Giant fans and Cowboy fans and Packers fans and all you guys who whine and cry about the referees costing you games. I believe you don't put yourself in position to get beat by those. I will moan about those calls. Never will I tell you my team lost because of a bad call. Ever. Anyway, the Patriots with their work cut out for them as well. We've talked about the Jets and Giants and Buffalo, all with some work cut out for them. And the Jets and Giants especially. The Jets probably have the hardest road here, I think, even more so than the Patriots, given the Patriots have beaten them twice. I thought a week ago all 4 of these teams could make the playoffs. It's still possible. I think a lot of that will hinge on how healthy and good the Chargers play here down the stretch. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be very interesting to watch as we go forward. Switching gears a little bit to the NBA. Little news from the Knicks and the I got to find my standings here. Hold on. Oh, everything's out of whack today. The Knicks, 9-9. They've won 1 straight. There's some people calling for Thibodeau's head. Look, this team's 9-9. It's a flawed team. They'll get better as they go along. They may have some moves to make at the trade deadline. But this team, as it was put together by Leon Rose, by the way, you want to blame Tom Thibodeau, you do that. But Leon Rose put this team together. And Leon Rose is going to have to live with the results here. And you look at what's the best case scenario? They finish, 45 wins, get in the top 6 and avoid the play-in round, maybe. I think worst case scenario, they're 500, maybe even just below, and they got to play in that play-in round. Win a series, probably a successful season. Leon Rose has got to make some moves here. He's got to do something to show that he can make the big move. Whether it be a trade, he blew it with Donovan Mitchell. I understand. Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers are 12-6, and Donovan Mitchell's playing like he's one of the best players in basketball right now. There would have been some challenges with the Knicks defensively, but he needs to show that he can make this kind of deal, and he hasn't. You need to make that kind of deal to be able to lure good free agents to New York, and he hasn't proved that he can do it. I mean, the Knicks are getting good play from Randall. He's playing much more like he played a couple of years ago. His attitude seems to have righted itself a bit. Jalen Brunson has been playing pretty well. Maybe, he's shooting a little more than you'd like your point guard to do, but he probably needs to when you're talking about the way some of the other players have slumped a bit. RJ Barrett's starting to come around. Fournier's been just terrible. He's even out of the rotation. Obi Toppin, after a pretty quick start, has gone into a bit of a shooting slump. Quickly's coming on a little bit. Cam Reddish is now regular in this rotation. Robinson being hurt hasn't helped this team, but as challenged as this team is, Leon Rose needs to go out and make some improvements to his team at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline. This team's got enough talent to win a series or two in the playoffs. Cam Reddish has shown he can be part of this team. I like Cam Reddish's game. I don't think he's going to be a trade target. Quickly might be. Might have to part with Quickly. Might have to part with a Derrick Rose to a contender. Might have to part with an Obi Toppin. I don't know. We can definitely part with Fournier. We'll probably have to figure out a way to get creative with the contract disbursement or matching up. And I really wished I would have liked to have seen Quentin Grimes step up a little bit more. Tibbs gave him a shot early. Got hurt. And when he came back, he wasn't the same player. So the Knicks have a lot of work to do. See what they got coming up here let's see what they got coming up here. Looking forward, they got the Trailblazers at home tonight. That'd be a nice win. They can get a win there. And then they have, let's see, I got to get the full schedule out. I don't like the way they do this for the NBA. You got Portland, you got Memphis at home, Ja Morant coming in. I'm sure the Knicks wish they had found a way to get that kid on their team, huh? They're at Detroit, then they got Milwaukee. These are, it's time to start getting some consistency. Winning 2 out of 3 here, right? Win 2 out of 3 against Portland, Memphis, and Detroit. Then they got Milwaukee, Dallas, and Cleveland. That's a tough little gauntlet right there. Then it gets a little softer. Although Sacramento's playing better. There's no gimmies in the NBA, guys, and the Knicks just have to start playing better basketball. The Nets, on the other hand, look, it's still just a dumpster fire in my mind. They've improved a little bit. They're 9-10, off of their whatever it was, 1-5 start. Fired their head coach. Ben Simmons wasn't playing well, wasn't playing at all, wasn't playing well when he did, wouldn't shoot the ball. Recently, he's played better. He started to show what Ben Simmons can bring to the table if he decides to come and play. He can shoot and dish in double figures every night. See what this team's done recently here. Three of their last 4 they've won. On the road, they've won against the Grizzlies, against the Trailblazers, against the Raptors. I'm sorry, the Grizzlies was at home. At the 76ers, they lost, but it was a decent game. Simmons played pretty well. They're at the Pacers tonight. This team needs to start putting it together. I mean, Kevin Durant, when he's healthy, still one of the best players, one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Ben Simmons leading this team in assists at 6 a game. Kevin Durant averaging 28 points again. Kyrie Irving, listen, we know what a dump. This guy. The Nets need to blow this up. How the Nets didn't blow it up in the last offseason is beyond me. When all this stuff started, there was no way to think this would be anything but this horrendous situation that they've caused and left for themselves. You've got Durant, Irving, Simmons. Seth Curry's not a bad player. Royce O'Neal's played well in spots. But this surrounding cast just isn't good enough to carry this team. And when you get injuries, when you start getting injuries to Durant, and they're inevitable, and you get suspensions and whatever else, time off Kyrie Irving needs because he's upset about something happening in the world. We don't go to work. I don't go to work when I'm upset about what's going on in the Ukraine or in Washington. I don't go to work when I'm upset about these things. I take them off. No, Kyrie, we get up and we go to work. Now you've been given a leave of absence, called a suspension, because you're not smart enough not to recommend anti-Semitic movies and books. And, look at when something walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's normally a duck. And this guy is no good. He's a cancer for any team he's been on. Yeah, he won a championship in Cleveland. Actually, probably was more as responsible, at least, for that championship as LeBron. But he's been a disaster on every team he's gone to since. He ended up leaving that team in a cloud under a cloud. He goes to Boston, calls all kinds of inner strife there. He comes to the Nets. There's been nothing but strife since he got here. He caused James Harden to want to get out of town last year. And this is the guys that Durant handpicked to come in and play with him. You can't even watch the NBA anymore. It's a joke. Let's move on to some baseball. And if you guys have any topics you want to jump into, feel free to jump in. The Yankees, obviously the big news around the Yankees is still Aaron Judge. The Yankees, I think, as I may have said on this show last week, do have an offer in front of him, according to Brian Cashman. No word on what that offer is. Whether they thought they were going to head off any talks with the Giants or the Dodgers, not going to happen. To me, again, the Yankees need to bring Aaron Judge back. And they need to pay whatever it's going to take. Because it doesn't matter. It's just money to these guys. I don't think the Giants can compete. And I laugh when they say, it's his hometown. Well, he grew up like 2.5 hours away from there. That's not his hometown. New York City's not my hometown. I grew up in Perth, New York, which is 3 hours away from New York City. Not even from Albany. I love the way they put spin on things. I understand he rooted for the Giants growing up. But to think they have some kind of inside track is just nonsense. And again, I know they're all excited. But if they pay what it's going to cost to get him, most likely at the end of the day, once the Dodgers are involved, and the Dodgers got some issues as well, and the Yankees and the Mets maybe, they won't be able to field a team around him. Dodgers can, Yankees can, Mets can. I don't see him going to the West Coast. Candlestick's not a park for a home run hitter like Judge. I don't know that he's going to want to play there. Again, the Giants say financially they have no restrictions, but how are you going to put a team around him in San Francisco if you load up on the contract for Aaron Judge? I don't see it happening. Dodgers have their own issues. By all accounts, they want to cut their $290 million payroll, not add to it. Plus, they need a shortstop. You got big contracts going to Betts and Freeman. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, among others, that doesn't mean they can't afford to do it. Just like the Yankees. I get into these conversations with Mac from the Mac and Jack show all the time. and Jack to a certain extent. They talk about Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen will spend money to get a winner. And they'll argue that he's a good businessman and that he didn't get all this money just spending it willy-nilly. Yeah, but when you get a toy on your hand and you got all kinds of money, you're going to spend it. Especially when you just go out and make billions more in your day job. So there's problems for the Dodgers and the Giants in this pursuit that people don't like to talk about. I mean, Aaron Judge doesn't live in San Francisco or even near it anymore. He lives in Tampa, Yankee territory. Aaron Judge is important to the Yankees. He'd be important to the Mets too. But he's more important to the Yankees, and I think it's more important to his legacy to be able to re-sign with the Yankees. As I've said before, I don't care what it costs, and I don't normally say that. But the Yankees can afford it. And they'll make money off of this guy for decades, not just while he's playing, not just in ticket sales, not just in ad revenues for TV contracts, not just in merchandise being sold now, but merchandise and his likeness that'll be sold decades after he retires, decades after he's long gone from this earth. Yankees will recoup their money 5 times over, regardless of what it is. Well, 3 times over. The Mets too. I do not expect Steve Cohen to go down without making an offer here. The whole issue about the collusion between the Mets and the Yankees back in the spring, I think it's a lot of hooey about nothing. I really do. At the end of the day, both these teams want to win. They know what's best for these organizations, and to be honest with you, what's best for the Yankees is to have an Aaron Judge in right field for the next decade. Will you pay for it on the end? Is his production going to be what it was at the beginning? Of course not. Nobody signs anybody at 30-plus years old, like Albert Pujols, and expects to get the same production year 10 as you got year 1, or even year 6 as year 1. You know what that is. You know what the depreciation value is going to be. Yankees, another interesting move this week, re-signed Kiner Falefa, which isn't a surprise to me. And people go, oh my God, another year Kiner Falefa at shortstop. It doesn't mean that. All along when they brought him here, they envisioned him eventually as a utility guy. Not the long-term solution at shortstop, a 1-year stopgap while you waited for one of the kids. Now, what's going to be interesting is if the Yankees turn course. Last year, they made this move for Falefa, and the Donaldson came in this trade, and Urshela and Sanchez went the other way. Urshela's already been moved on to the Angels, by the way, this year. They made this trade with the idea that they were this would be a stopgap till one of the kids or both of the kids was ready, Peraza or Volpe. Now, I think Peraza is going to get the first shot at this, and maybe Volpe's got to stay in the Volpe. It's got to stay in the minors a little bit longer, or maybe they both get a shot. Maybe they move one to third base. Maybe they move one to second base, and they move either move Torres for pitching or an outfielder, or both, or they move Torres to the outfield. It's possible if Judge doesn't come back, or even if Judge does come back, you might see Torres in left field. I think he's athletic enough that he can handle one of the corner outfielders. Put him in left field. If you're not going to bring Benintendi back, maybe Cabrera is your left fielder. I'm not sure. Love the kid. Love his swing. Love his makeup. Maybe Gleyber moves to third base. Donaldson needs to go. Or maybe you trade him. Or maybe you play second base because both these kids are, deemed ready come springtime. It's time for the Yankees to find out what these kids have, though. They've done about all you can do in the minor leagues. Both of them. So it's time for them to find out what they can do. What else? They brought Rizzo back, which we probably talked about. I like that move. They'll have DJ coming back. Don't kid yourself that DJ LeMahieu wasn't missed in that series against the Astros. He's the one guy on the team who really kind of puts the ball in play regularly, not swinging for the fences every time he sees the ball. DJ's important to this team. DJ will be playing around the infield. He'll play every position. Most likely won't play shortstop, I doubt. But give guys a break. Let them DH. He'll DH sometimes. Don't be surprised to see him get himself an outfielder's glove next year as well. So that's the news around the Yankees pretty much. Aaron Judge. And once that happens, it'll be a trickle effect after that. We'll find out because how they replace him if they lose him is paramount. Whether they move Gleyber Torres might very well depend on whether they sign Judge or not. The Mets, not a lot of news around the Mets. They did make a small trade with it's a small trade, but for 3 pitchers from the Marlins. Marlins are loaded with good young pitchers, as we know, and we'll see how these guys do when they get a chance to play in the big leagues, if they do get a chance to play in the big leagues. The DeGrom news, it's either no news, depending on how you look at it. There's either no news or bad news. Not a lot of engagement between the two sides. Again, similar to Judge, you didn't let yourself get to free agency not to listen to other offers. Should the Jets show, or the Jets? Oh my God! Should the Mets at least show what kind of interest they have? Yeah, they should. Depending on whether they want him back. I would expect both the Yankees and Mets to be in on Verlander, by the way. But that's going to be maybe a 1 year, maybe 2 years with some options. Who knows? Both ways, the options, if you're going to give them. 2 years tops. He's 39 years old with a history of arm trouble. But he's also won a Cy Young Award last year. This year, I should say. But the Mets, I think, it would behoove them to be able to bring back DeGrom on a team-friendly contract. Now, when I say team-friendly, I don't mean don't pay him any money. I mean years. Got to sign this guy for 2 years. Maybe some options if he stays healthy. But if I'm giving him more, the options are all mine. They're all the teams. He's got to show he can pitch. Don't compare him, and don't compare him to Aaron Judge health-wise. Aaron Judge has shown in the last 2 years he can stay healthy. The not staying healthy rap on Aaron Judge is old news, and it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. DeGrom, on the other hand, the last couple of years have been a nightmare for him. And if you're going to sign a guy for $40 million a year to pitch 12 times, not a good idea. What else? Syracuse. Let's look at the football teams in New York. Syracuse loses its 5th straight. Again, similar to what I said about the New York football, professional football team. So I said this about Syracuse. At the beginning of the year, they'd be 6-5 bowl eligible. Dino Babers would have saved his job. Fans would have been very happy after the debacle of last year's 1-win season. But they started 6-0. And now they're 6-5, and the perspective is this season's a failure. Probably going to another lower tier bowl game, maybe the Pinstripe Bowl, one of the ones I'd like to see go away. So just not a good situation right now for for Syracuse. Now, on the upside, the good news is they're not Rutgers. Rutgers now 1-7 after losing 4 straight now. In the Big Ten to Minnesota, Michigan, Michigan State, most recently Penn State, all in bad fashion. They were outscored. Let's see, they've been outscored 83, 110, 165 to 40. Things are not working out in Greg Schiano's return to Rutgers. Rutgers doesn't belong in the Big Ten in any way, shape, or form. I know they played better in basketball, but this is a football league, and they do not belong in it. They should be in the American Conference, someplace where they can be competitive. And as I've talked about before, this gets really ugly for Rutgers once UCLA and USC gets in here, and you got to start sending your, women's lacrosse team and men's I don't know, tennis team. I'm making stuff up, to Los Angeles on road trips. And how excited are the USC fan base going to be to travel to Piscataway, New Jersey? So New York, in New York sports, college football, Syracuse rebounded a little bit this year, but the excitement that we'd felt after that 6-0 start is gone. And the other team in the area, UConn, they do get a loss after winning 3 straight games, 3 good wins, throw UMass out, but a decent win against Boston College, a really good win against a good Liberty team. They go to Army. No disgrace going to West Point and losing to a Jeff Moncton coach team, but they end the season at 6-6. They're bowl eligible. Does not mean they'll get in. There are right now 80. I think before this week comes, I think there's 80 teams that are eligible for 82 spots. So right now, UConn will be in good shape for one of those meaningless bowl games. But it does give them a chance to practice longer and help players. That's the one thing about these bowl games, right? I say we need half of them gone, but there is some value to the teams that get in them because they get to practice a little bit longer, another month in some cases. And that would be good for a team like UConn to do. Plus, it's a step in the right direction. Good for the players, good for the coaching staff, good for recruiting. Bad for viewing if you want to watch these bowl games and watch, 27 people go to, watch the Cheez-It Chick-fil-A Bowl or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. Oh, guys, that's all I got. Again, trying to carry the load here and just keep a little bit of good content in front of you guys and help my good friend Dan Harris out. Like Dan a lot. Dan's a good man. He's helped a lot of people get their start here on his network, and I've been proud to help Dan along. And Dan said some really nice things about me, helping him when he was getting started, and I'm happy to help out while Dan gets himself righted and do the show and provide some content to help him out. Guys, keep Dan in your thoughts. Drop him a note if you would, because he's a good guy and he deserves it, and I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. So please drop Dan a quick note on social media. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from you guys. So with that said, Keith Engel from TGI Sports Talk, picking up for Dan Harris. Dan, get better. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern time, and whenever this gets replayed on Let's Talk Sports on the various social media outlets that Dan posts to. See you guys later. Have a great, great, great weekend. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Still a lot of great sports ahead.